Welcome to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Cam K here, along with a special guest co-host. Brenden Madonia is here with us. Brenden, welcome to the show. We're going to start off with a very busy Saturday for race fans. You actually watched more than I did, which is crazy because normally I'm watching from from dawn until dusk. But we had Indy Lights, I think, started us off. Then we had NASCAR trucks, IndyCar, Xfinity, IMSA, Tour Modifieds, ARCA East, and then we had our SRX to wrap it up. We're going to touch on two things. We're going to touch on IndyCar because there's some funny stuff that happened in IndyCar, which I think you and I would love to chat about, and then SRX with their very first event. So, Brenden, let's start off. IndyCar. We'll start with the bad. I missed the start of the race, and apparently so did everybody else.
Yeah. NBC kind of dropped the ball. I'm not gonna lie. And it was a bigger letdown than I think a lot of us really wanted. I was on the bandwagon of here in the States with CBS taking over the rights of IndyCar. That was a big news story. And then the Indy 500 for NBC, probably one of the best productions
Yeah.
of the year. I immediately switched. I thought NBC, did a fantastic job with it, did fantastic with the promotions, with the talent that they added onto it. And then the race was fantastic. So I think, leading up into the Detroit GP, they had a lot of momentum and they just dropped it big time. I mean, I don't know what was going on with your guy, on your end, but for us, I mean, lacrosse took up the first 2-3 laps of the Detroit GP, and I mean, as Indy fans know, Detroit's really not a very great track for passing. Most of the passing happens on restarts. So at the start of the race, we missed pretty much the most of the action for the first 20, 30 laps. That was very disappointing. I was very disappointed in that.
I didn't think that NBC would ever make that mistake again after they missed the beginning when Rossi made contact with Marco at Sonoma in the championship finale. What was
Yeah,
that?
that's
2019, maybe?
yeah, 2018, 2019, I believe.
2018, something like that.
Mhm.
Why would they do it again? And I'm not suggesting that Detroit is like the best track out there. It's not. I thoroughly enjoy it. I really do like Detroit. I always have, mainly just because of the crazy finishes that we've seen there way back. And I'm talking like kart days with Greg Moore and Mark Blundell, way back. But the the broadcast first, we've been talking about NASCAR's awful broadcasts all year round, and then NBC does this, and I thought it was much better with Townsend and Lee. A lot of people are against PT. I can hit or
I'm
miss.
either way. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
either way with PT. And yeah, I mean, it
But
just
it's
I
proof.
get that that Detroit maybe not be the greatest track to have after Indy. I know a lot
Yeah.
of IndyCar purists really want Milwaukee to
Hmm.
be the next race. A week after Indy, like it used to be. I'm on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I'm really surprised that NBC didn't A, learn their lessons from Sonoma, or B, move it to another channel. They
Yeah.
have USA and they have
Yeah.
CNBC that they could have moved the race to, and at least the start. They've done it with NASCAR
Hmm.
when other things have gone over, over time. Like I said, it was very disappointing to see, especially after such a successful production with the Indy 500 and a week off,
Yep.
that we have this big of a blunder on that network's part. But
We
yeah,
go from a missed start. Ryan Hunter Ray has trouble right away, unfortunately, in the Pride car, which I was so disappointed. They actually finally we have a Pride car actually out on a track.
I was about to say, I think that's the first one.
I think it's the first one in a
Yeah, I mean, I know
major
Lefty
motorsports.
Designs did
Yeah.
Alex Bowman's car.
Yeah.
and the outlet colors. I thought that was really cool. It was a shame not to see that go on track. But yeah, the first Pride Flag car, I was with you on that one.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
So then he goes out, he has trouble right away. I mean, I don't know how much longer Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to be with that team. It just seems like he's going to be out pretty soon. But then we go to lap 28 in what was one of, if not the hardest hits I have seen, and a flat hit. Like it wasn't like Wickens's hit where you saw some of the energy dissipate. No, 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 no. He hit Felix Rosenqvist. I believe the definition was the throttle stuck. Now there was a lot of talk that that should not happen in IndyCar. You'd know a lot better about the technical side. I just watch it. I don't know anything about the technical side. I don't drive them like you do in iRacing. Um, I only feel the last time that we saw this was way back in 1998 with the fatal killing, like the fatal wreck of Gonzalo Rodriguez at Laguna Seca. That is the
yeah.
only time I remember a throttle being stuck to that degree. And he hit that wall so hard, it knocked a concrete barrier over. And he went through 3 sets, I believe it was 3 sets of tires, and made them fly. If he didn't have that aero screen, and if these cars weren't built so, tough, I don't know how that would have ended. I don't think it would have just been with the whatever the injury is going to be that it is, and there is some sort of an injury.
Yeah, so on the technical side, Aero or McLaren Aero Motorsports, they released a statement saying that it was a mechanical fault. The way Indy cars work, they work. I believe it's an electrical connection. It's not a normal spring tension like you would in an older car, or I think NASCAR. I don't think they still use them, but they used to. Um, so what had happened is there was a glitch, I guess, in the system that kept the throttle on even though he was off. I think Townsend said it perfectly. It's like a light switch.
Yeah.
That's exactly how the throttle and brake system work in an Indy car. So in this rare instance, I mean, this is a one-time incident that we've seen, especially in the modern era of IndyCar, where throttle is stuck. Like you said, I believe, yeah, it was probably back then at Laguna in '98, and that was a very scary accident itself. I mean, unfortunately, we lost. Was it
He was a top
Gonzalo?
a top
Yeah,
prospect at the time. Penske
and he was
Penske's
driving for Penske. Yeah, and that was a big loss. I remember right before Greg Moore.
yeah.
And luckily, in this amount of time, he went through. I believe they said 3 to 6. I don't remember the exact number, but yeah, it went through tire barriers and then knocked into the concrete. And you saw the car afterwards, how the tub
Yeah.
it held up, which was
Yeah.
fantastic. Delar did a fantastic job, I think, with the tub
Yeah.
and the safety that we've seen around the safety cell around the driver, and the fact that he hit a concrete barrier. I thought the whole front end was cut open. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
that's
I
what
know
I thought. I
that's
thought
I'm
Zanardi.
thinking,
I thought
yeah,
Zanardi. That's exactly what I thought. I thought if
I
it's
was
bent
thinking,
like this,
yep. Well,
it's
it was just the way that the car was laying on the tires. You saw the
yeah.
front wing sitting there, and I was like, "Oh no!" So luckily, yeah, I believe he tweeted out that he's okay. He's not cleared to drive. I think Oliver Askew's taking over for him tomorrow,
Yes, he is. Yeah.
which will be
Odd.
interesting to watch. Um, but I don't, he no broken bones,
Not
that we
one
know
little.
of. No, no noticeable
And maybe it's a
injuries.
concussion, and maybe that's why.
Maybe.
And I'm like, how, like, of all people to replace him, you replace him with the driver you fired after he had concussion problems.
Well, that's what I found interesting because I think they're in a very interesting spot because they just got done having Juan Pablo in the car.
Yep.
Juan Pablo, I believe, or Elio, one of those two. I think it was Elio that replaced Askew the first
Yes.
time. But Elio is available tomorrow. SRX is done today.
Yeah.
But anyway, they have Juan Pablo at Indy. I don't think Juan Pablo really knows Detroit that well. He probably wouldn't be a good suit, but
No.
you know. And
I
then
thought they
also you
would
have
have. I thought they would have gone like Kyle Kirkwood or somebody from like
Well,
Indy
that
Lights.
was another option. I was thinking which IMSA, if there's an IMSA driver that has that IndyCar experience. I know Felipe Nasser was supposed to run for
Oh
Carlin
yes, he would have been a
a
good show.
while back ago. So does he
Yeah.
step in?
Jack
Um,
Hawksworth could have
Jack
done it.
Hawksworth's another one that, yeah,
Exactly.
you don't know
Yeah.
that has previous IndyCar experience. So yeah, very interesting choice in Askew. I'm really interested in seeing how he does. I mean, at this point, they're not really racing for points.
Hmm.
I think Pato is the main driver right now that they're worried about. So to have somebody out there just to make waves, I
And
guess,
I'm not
and
sure, Brendan. There was a tweet put out. I can't remember who it was, but they were talking like that 7 seat is available already. And then this happens with Felix. And I'm like, what is going on with this team and this second seat? Like,
to be honest with you, I mean this team has had a really interesting past with what happened with Hinch.
yep.
I know that I don't even know if they're still honoring Wickens' contract. I know that before McLaren's takeover, they said that six ride will always be open for him whenever
Yeah.
he comes back, which, you know, I know Rob's running a couple races,
Hmm.
but it's just I'm surprised at Rosenqvist. I know he's not having a fantastic season compared to when he was with Ganassi. I think that was expected.
Hmm.
I didn't really think that I mean, I know plenty of people picked him out to be a title contender. I kind of picked him to be a race winner. I
Yeah.
think Pato is in a prime spot right now, with McLaren. I didn't hear that yet. That's very surprising that they're already offering that seat up. I'm wondering where Rosenquist goes. Especially, there's rumors about Pagano out of
Mhm.
Penske going down to three cars.
I
I think
wouldn't
we're
be
gonna have a
shocked.
huge silly season with IndyCar, and then also too is announced today that Ray Hall Lanigan's going to go to three cars.
I love
So
that. I
yeah,
love that move.
yeah. So I
I love
think
that
it's
team. You know,
yeah.
I
I
I
I am too.
I was actually really upset that Taku did not get a good start. But the biggest story out of all of this was what happened when towards the end of the race, Will Power is and Will, I don't even know when the last time he won. It feels like forever ago. And he's out there, he's leading the most laps. Romain Grosjean, he wrecks, and they decide they're going to throw a red flag. Now, they had already done a red flag for over an hour to repair the barrier. Obviously, not the same type of situation. At that time, they chose to run a second red flag, instead of just ending under caution. Now, this is a Roger Penske owned facility. This is a Roger Penske owned series. And it seems like that decision cooked the 12 car enough to then for them to lose the race. What happens here, Brendan? Because this is an awful, awful look for the IndyCar series.
I think there's two ways to look at it, Cam. I think the one thing was, uh, look, I mean, this isn't new for IndyCar. We've
Mhm.
seen them red flag races late to kind of build up the drama late in the race. I think I can't really think of a time where that really didn't hurt the race at all. I think if it was either a close race already and they wanted it to finish, that way, or however they viewed it. I think the only time I kind of wish the red flag was thrown was probably the Indy 500 last year. I
Yes.
was on board with that train. I mean, I think we all know that was, obviously a safety issue with
Yeah.
the attenuator
Again.
broken and the
Yeah.
repair times and stuff.
Yeah.
I think the only reason I wanted it to continue is it was just such a great battle. But anyway, getting on to today. I think this was a very interesting call from IndyCar, for multiple reasons. One, as you mentioned, they already had a red flag of over an hour and a half,
Yeah.
for track repairs and get Rosenquist, safely out of the car. Uh, on top of that, Will Power was dominating this race.
Mhm.
There was nobody really close. I mean, you had VK up there. Pato was there, but nobody seemed to really have anything for Power. They seemed to have played the strategy perfectly, and he was going to run away with the race. So to have Grosjean's crash, it didn't. He seemed okay. It wasn't a big crash. He hit the wall. Um, to throw the red flag for that, I mean, it wasn't a safety issue.
Was there not a runoff right behind him too that they could have just pulled his car right behind?
There was, yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, and
So
I'm not even, I mean, I'm not even saying that they couldn't have just thrown the yellow, pulled the car off, and then gone green, and still with 2 to go.
yeah.
Um, you know, but I get the entertainment factor, but here's my thing about the entertainment factor is you have a race tomorrow.
Yes.
The fans that are currently at the track, they're gonna watch another race tomorrow. I don't see anybody that just shows up for Saturday and not show up for Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
The fans that are on TV, they already saw a full race. I'm sorry, but Will Power was going to win whether the race went green or they went yellow and they started back up again. He was going to win the race. Had his car started back up again, he was going to win the race. I don't think anyone had anything for him. You weren't going to see any late race heroics, and it's not the track. That's the other problem I think I have with this. This is not the track you do that at. This isn't.
No.
This isn't.
Yes,
you know.
absolutely. Yes, you don't. No, you don't throw like Indy. Yes. This no.
Yeah, if it's a championship race and it's the
Yeah.
last race of the season and you don't want it obviously another yellow, fine. I think that in this case it was done. I hate saying it, but it was done as a gimmick. I think anyone can see it as everyone wanted an entertaining finish. I think it was. I mean, I think Will Power played it perfect. Said everything perfectly. I think he was very professional. I was expecting Will Power from New Hampshire 2011, and
Yes,
instead
so
we got
was I.
we got a very professional Will Power. I think he said what everyone else in the paddock was probably thinking besides Marcus Ericsson. I think it was a little, knowing the heat that was going on outside. They even mandated the airflow on top of the aero screens.
Yes.
Why were they not allowed a fan to keep that? They know that this is an issue. The ECUs, are an issue, and everyone's saying that, it didn't happen to anyone else. Well, it could have.
He was the first.
And if
his point though,
that's the thing with
he was the
racing.
first car.
Yeah.
He was the first car.
Yeah.
That's an unfair advantage to everybody else behind him.
Well, as he said, there was guys still pulling in as he's sitting there. Again, everyone that says, well, it didn't happen to anyone else, well, that's racing. Unfortunately, that's racing. I mean, you can have the worst luck on your car. The one thing breaks on the last lap, and it didn't happen to the guy behind you. But I think in this case, it's not like, something broke. It wasn't a mechanical malfunction. It was negligence. I personally feel is negligence on IndyCar's part to not say, okay, as soon as you're in, get air on the car. We know that this is an issue.
Yeah.
The ECUs heat up and they burn out real easily if they're not kept cool. Go ahead, have one crew guy, just throw a fan on it, and that's it. Nobody could touch the car.
And they were expecting that. You could tell because he ran down there. That's what they were expecting to be able to do. And then when they told him no, it was like, what do you mean no?
Well, they had a crew guy already there.
He was already there.
Surprised me. There was a crew guy already there with an official telling him no until the last car pulled in. And I get that that's a rule. I understand that. And I get why it's a rule. It's a safety thing. You don't want a hot pit and guys running out and, cars still moving. I understand that completely. But in this case, when I'm just thinking logically in IndyCar's mind, you already know that the conditions, are going to, have this result. You already know that it's hot outside. You already know the drivers are hot. Unless there's a miscommunication. I know NBC that the announcers were saying that, Will Power's hot, so he needs a fan. And in reality, it was no, the car needs a fan.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what IndyCar officials thought, but at the end of the day, either way, I think in that point,
either way, that makes
matter. Yeah, if you need a fan, you need a fan. So I was very, very surprised and kind of disappointed as a racing fan that's how that race ended. And I mean, I am all for the excitement factor. I get it. But in this case, it didn't make sense. It wasn't really an exciting race outside of, the beginning with the two issues with Hunter Ray and Newgarden. I think it wasn't really, I think everyone knew that Will Power was going to win the race, whether or not the caution came out. So I think that's what to me was very disappointing is that they kind of costed him another win.
Another one.
This has happened to him.
They do it all the time to him.
Yeah,
And
and I mean,
is it because and that's what I'm saying. Like, I typically in the past have not really been a Will Power fan, but
I
that's
agree. Yeah,
but he has a legitimate reason to be upset. When they did that, was it you go back in some of the decisions that they've made in the past. Okay, New Hampshire.
yeah, that one's the big one.
That's one of the bigger ones. There's so many mistakes that you can't make when you're trying to sell this product to another, because we know they're not going to be on NBC. They're going somewhere, but you're trying to sell IndyCar to a network. That this does not make people very happy. Now, I get IndyCar's in a tough position because of last year's Indianapolis. They like, well, you need to red flag the race. Everybody was up in arms that they didn't red flag the race. Well, now they red flag the race, and everybody's like, oh, you can't do red flag the race. So it is a very tough position, but that's the problem, is it's inconsistency on their part. It's the same thing we could talk about now. Well, NASCAR is famous for being inconsistent. Overall, very happy to see Marcus Ericsson win.
Absolutely.
Ganassi Racing, from being where they were with Scott Dixon being Scott Dixon, to now have three of their full-time drivers, so three of their three full-time drivers win a race already in 7 races, is phenomenal. That's amazing. Penske has 0. Didn't expect that in a million years at the beginning of this year.
I had a feeling. I mean, I hope that I didn't want to take anything away from Marcus Ericsson. I mean, I'm happy for him. It was a well-deserved win. He was also up front, for a good portion of the day. So I want to get that out of the way before I get any hate mail. But no, Marcus Ericsson did a great job today. And yeah, I think, Penske has shown that, they are struggling, and I don't know if it's because Roger himself has stepped away from the company. That he stepped away from the race team, and he came out and said that it's no longer in his control. He's now focusing on Indianapolis and the IndyCar series as his control now. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, because we've seen on the NASCAR side, things have been going pretty well. So it's very interesting. And then even on, I'm sure once the sports cars thing starts back up again, that's going to go very well.
Yes.
But yeah, I think with McLaughlin coming in as a rookie, and he's shown that he's got some speed in it. I mean, he was the fastest Penske car at Indy, qualifying and throughout the race. I don't know what's going on with Newgarden's struggles. It seems to just be simple mistakes that you don't normally, either driver mistakes or crew mistakes that you don't normally see. Will Power, I mean, he's had some good runs this season, but then he's also had some really bad runs this season.
Yeah, he
so
has.
it's kind of he's hit and miss.
And he's been re-signed. And he's been re-signed too.
He's been re-signed, and that's what I found really interesting, because Pagenaud, if you look at Pagenaud's results, I mean, he's been the silent driver for Penske the whole season, and he's been decent. I mean, he's not the Pagenaud that we've seen, 2-3 years ago, but he's been kind of consistent. He's probably, in my opinion, been one of the most consistent Penske drivers this season.
Is it a loss of Elio? Because I know Elio was full time, but something's just off, and I think your Roger comment is probably the most likely. First off, I cannot wait to buy a diecast of that 12. I think that is the best that 12 car has looked. I liked the silver, but we needed something new, and I think it's a very sharp looking number 12. Now, tomorrow, obviously, we're not going to have Felix Rosenqvist in the race. We're going to have Oliver Askew. Who you got for tomorrow?
That's a tough one, because that just doesn't say. No one really stood out to me today. It seems like it's going to be another strategy race.
I kind of love that.
I do too. I mean, it made it really interesting to watch. From beginning to end. Sato looked really good today. He
all
did.
3 of those Ray Hall Lettermans in the top 10.
And I didn't expect Graham to have a good race. He started out on the blacks. He started in 20th. I think he got lucky a little bit with Rosenqvist's, caution there, and and even the late race incident kind of helped him a little bit. He was able to, I don't know how I felt about all the reds late in the
Yeah.
race, but maybe they learned their lesson. Maybe they have a better qualifying tomorrow morning. Um, I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Sato. I
Hmm.
think Award's gonna be up there. I think VK is gonna be up there. I think Dixon's gonna have a shot at it. But I'm gonna go with Sato on this one.
I would love that. I I've got to go Willpower though. He's going to be driving pissed. So I think Willpower pissed is some of the best television. I think I love drivers that actually will call people out, and call the series out when they deserve it.
He called Kyle Busch out.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what
Yeah.
I thought was great.
Yeah, he's good at calling anybody out, really. I kind of love that about like that's what I'm saying. He he's so funny because he's so easy to like, but then he's also so easy to hate. But then he's also so likable when he gets all pissed off and riled up like that. I would love to see Will finally just be like an FU to everybody and win tomorrow, which I wouldn't be shocked if he does. So that's it for our IndyCar review. Just stay tuned. What we're gonna do is we're gonna post another video on our channel, which you'll see coming up. It is our SRX series debut that's going to appear on your playlist.